Hi, it's Lori Neverman from Common Sense Homesteading, and Amy from Homesteaders of America asked me if I would talk to you a little bit about growing berries. We have raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries here, but to keep things from getting too overwhelming, I'm going to talk about blueberries and raspberries today. First, we're going to start out in our blueberry patch. I'm mixing myself up, and I'll talk a little bit about our enclosure and basic care for these and give a quick growing guide. And then we'll head over to the raspberries and I'll go through a quick growing guide, and Dunk will demonstrate how to prune the raspberries and clean up any winter damage. So first up, blueberry quick growing guide. When you're growing blueberries, you want soil pH that is between 4 and 5.5. Blueberries like soil that is a little bit acidic. Your soil that you're growing your berries in should be rich in organic matter. They like to grow naturally on the edges of forest, kind of swampy, boggy areas. So if you have thin, rocky soil, your blueberries are not going to like that. Generally, you want to plant your blueberry bushes in full sun for best production, but the plants will tolerate a little bit of late afternoon shade, especially if you live in a more southern area. Blueberries also prefer well-drained soil. We visited a commercial growing patch and they had raised beds that they had their plants in. When you're planting your blueberry plants, you want to space them between 4 and 6 feet apart. For high bush blueberries, between 2 and 4 feet apart for low bush varieties, with 6 to 8 feet between rows. And while blueberries are self-pollinating, planting a second variety will increase your fruit production. Blueberries need about an inch of water per week during the growing season, so if the rains don't come, you're going to need to water if you want to have fruit. They also set that fruit on foliage that grew the year before, so you want to encourage vigorous growth during the growing season, and then you're going to get your fruit from that the next season. Apply your fertilizer when the plants are starting to bud. Avoid fertilizing late in the season so you don't spark new growth that could be damaged by winter frost. Organic mulch is a very good thing to use in your blueberry patch to protect them from getting too dry or too wet or whatever. It keeps the soil moisture even, and an acidic mulch, if you have it, like pine needles, is great, but you can use wood chips, whatever you have on hand, straw. We generally get wood chips. My brother uses pine needles because he has a friend who wants to get rid of some. In the spring, you want to prune off any damaged branches or any crossing branches, and you want to do that in early spring before the bud growth gets really active. And to protect plants from wild animals like deer, rodents, and birds, you generally need a pretty good sized fence for the deer. If you've got a small patch, a 4-foot tall fence will do. To keep birds out, you want to use some type of netting. And we're going to walk around the patch in a minute and I'll show you what we have set up for ours. This design was figured out by my brother. He used it at his place. We set it up at ours because it works so well for him. Okay, this is our patch, and I think it's, what was it, probably like 20 by 12, and we're going to put in a door over here. We're going to fit it on this side. We've got 4-foot poultry fence, and then during the season when the berries are actually ripening, we put poultry netting over this framework. So we can come in here, walk around full height, and we're not trying to bend over and pull the netting off the bushes. And I think we're going to move the camera and adjust and take a quick look at the blueberries so you can see the type of thing you're looking for when you're pruning. This is one of our blueberry plants. We have poultry fencing outside, which keeps out the bigger animals, but we've noticed that the darn little voles like to sneak in the wintertime and they'll chew the plants down low. So we've also started putting protection around the base of the blueberries in the winter. Cats are slackers. They can't get them all the time. When I'm going to be pruning my blueberries, I want to make sure to aim for an outward growing framework. This branch right here is crossing, so that's going to be pruned off, and I'm going to want to point that to an outward facing bud. So I'm going to cut at an angle, and this bud will grow outwards so that it starts to fill in the plant roughly in a bushy shape is what you're looking for. It's a blueberry bush, so that's what you want to aim for. And as this fills out, you can see there's all this nice new twiggy growth on top that's bright red and healthy. That's where our blueberries are going to be set this year. And other than that, all you do is look for anything that's dead or damaged. Like, I think this one, there's some damage near the base, and I think that we've lost this section of the plant right over here. So I'll take the protective cover off down here and clip that back evenly to the base. And if you have specific questions, I'm going to have a link below the video to a much more detailed post with step-by-step and lots more info on blueberry growing, and there's one on our netting setup too. Now we're going to head over to the raspberries.
So first I'm going to remove the dead canes. You can tell that the canes are dead via 3 ways. 1, they turn pale. 2, the bark starts to peel off like this. And 3, they're brittle. And due to our wet weather, they don't snap that well, but you can tell. So you trim them off and then toss them to the side. Then with ones that have snapped off during the winter, you want to trim them down to the closest intact bud. You don't want to trim too low, because if you trim too close to the bud, it will kill the bud, and then it'll just come out the next lowest one. You'll have a dead stump on top, which I've done it a couple times, but I've learned from it. So down here, some of these got damaged so much, I'm just going to remove them entirely, because yellow raspberry canes last only a year. All the 2-year-old ones die, and you gotta cut them out. So that's why I'm going through. You also want to make sure to maintain a nice walkway through the patch, which all these ones have busted off and are in the walkway. So I'm going to chop these off. Chop that one off because it's just bent over so much. This one. So you just keep going through your patch until you're done with it. And that's all there is to it.
Here's the quick guide to growing raspberries. Raspberries prefer slightly acidic soil with a pH between 6 and 6.8. They don't need it as acidic as blueberries. They grow in zones 4 through 8 and prefer full sun and well-drained soil. Raspberries like soil that's rich in organic matter, just like blueberries, but they should not be planted where nightshade family plants or strawberries were grown in the last 3 years. So no potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, no strawberries, because those can harbor the same diseases that affect raspberries. You also want to avoid planting them near wild raspberries, because once again, the wild raspberries can harbor diseases that can take out your raspberry patch. We had our patches were previously wiped out, or nearly wiped out, by wild raspberries, and it took years for them to recover. When you're planting different varieties of raspberries, if you have reds and yellows for instance, you want to space those 100 feet apart to avoid cross-pollination and to avoid disease transfer again. When you're putting in new plants, space them roughly 2 feet apart within a row, and then space the rows between 4 and 6 feet apart. You want to make sure that you preserve walking space so you can reach in and pick your raspberries and take care of them. And the plants are going to, as they grow, produce a lot of side shoots, and they will fill in that row. Summer-bearing raspberries produce one large crop between July and August. Fall-bearing raspberries, also sometimes called ever-bearing raspberries, produce a large crop in the fall and a smaller crop the next summer. Raspberries need around 1 inch of water per week during the growing season. So if the rains fail, again, just like the blueberries, if you want fruit, you gotta water them. You want to fertilize your raspberries early in spring for maximum growth, and avoid fertilizing after August 1st so you don't get tender growth that can be damaged by winter cold. We use several inches of organic mulch, which I heavily recommend. And we use mulch, chopped up tree bits, but you can use straw, whatever you have on hand. And To care for your raspberry patch, you want to remove the dead or damaged canes early in spring or after fall frost, as Dunk demonstrated. You want to always maintain good airflow through your raspberry patch, as that will help cut down on diseases. And that is the main info you need on growing raspberries. We have reds and we have yellows. I've got a link to more detailed information on growing raspberries below the video, and you can get additional food growing information from the other videos that are also linked below the post. If you got any questions, hit me up. Trust me, these will be beautiful in just a couple of months, but still a little chilly here in Wisconsin. So thanks for watching, hope you subscribe, and have a great day.